Bonjour, comment ça va? Dear friends, today is day 20 of 40 days of Lenten observances. We are already past halfway and we have half more way ahead of us. At the halfway mark, we could be of two minds set up. The first thing, we cannot get past these 20 more days, or we want to make use of every single day to change our old ways of life and prepare ourselves to worthily participate in the passion, death and resurrection of Christ. Did you ever realize what happens after 40 days of Lent? In a school or college, after years of education and learning, the students come out of their institutions with a graduation, having completed a course or a degree or education. In the same way, at the end of 40 days strict fasting and penance observances, we should be able to see ourselves having overcome our temptations and any evil inclinations we have been struggling with. Sometimes it is possible that after having strictly following the 40 days of Lenten observances with the fasting and penance, working on our temptations and evil inclinations, trying to overcome them with the Lenten observances, and then after 40 days, if we fall back into the same way, then our 40 days of struggles and all our efforts and our hope might seem to be vain. Therefore, this struggle of 40 days of penance and fasting, trying to overcome these temptations and sins of our lives, should help us to continue even after the Lent. It should be an opportunity for us to get rid of them once and forever, and then move on to the next stage of our lives. Yes, dear friends, this is where the saint that we are about to see comes to help us. He, in his younger days, having struggled with old ways of life, trying to overcome them, found these season of Lent a big help to overcome any temptations in life. That saint, who in his younger days struggled with old ways of life and found the season of Lent an opportunity to overcome the temptations and difficulties in life, and also teaching us that way of life, is Saint Valerian. Saint Valerian served as Bishop of Chimay on the Mediterranean coast of southern Gaul. The town was the capital of Rome's maritime Alps province, and he saw it as a wild scene that endangered his flock. Drunkenness, sexual immorality, feuds, and corruption contaminated Christians under his care, who apparently were only superficially evangelized. Therefore, in his sermons, Valerian regularly condemned pride, covetousness, gluttony, drunkenness, and other capital sins, and he taught his people practical ways to avoid these evil snares. In one of his sermons, he corrects the Christians who relaxed their Lenten discipline to celebrate Easter with uncontrolled revelry. I sometimes find myself displeased with Easter merrymakers because many think they may now freely do anything they had put under discipline during Lent. But your devotions only result in disorder if you fail to preserve what you gained for the purification of your soul by your difficult fasts and vigils. If we don't heed spiritual duties and give in to bodily desires, we swiftly destroy everything we had acquired. However, I am not saying that we should refrain extensively from food or abstain completely from drinking. Even if our bodies have been fashioned for the cross, they should nevertheless be sustained. Saint Valerian asks every one of us a question. What do you gain out of this season of Lent for having observed the Lent by fasting and penance very strictly and abstaining from sins, and then once the 40 days are done, going back to your old ways and celebrating and enjoying a sinful life? What have you gained or what have you learned from the 40 days of Lenten observances? Whatever graces we received, whatever blessings we received by following a strict observance of Lent for 40 days is simply being lost after 40 days of Lent if we do not continue to stay in that grace. If we go back to our old ways of life, then whatever graces, blessings we have received during this season of Lent are simply being wasted. Therefore, listen to the advice of Valerian. Preserve disciplinary control. Foster your integrity. Love chastity. Promote peace. Check under the fear of punishment everything that serves evil. After 40 days of Lent, we may not be doing fasting and penance very strictly, but in order to continue to stay in the grace and blessings we received during Lent, we have to continue to forgive, continue to give to the poor, continue to visit the sick, and care for one another in our lives. Saint Valerian, as a bishop, not only guided his people in the right path by his sermons, but he also helped his companion bishops and companion priests to walk in the right path by staying in the grace. Saint Valerian, in his younger days, how he used to follow the Lent observances very strictly, and once the 40 days are done and going back to old ways of life, found meaningless and a waste of time. Therefore, he had a conversion and began to take the season of Lent very seriously and continued to stay in the state of grace not only during season of Lent, but even after the season of Lent. Therefore, the conversion story of Saint Valerian helps every one of us to understand today that we need to continue to stay in the state of grace, not only during the season of Lent, but also in the coming days. As we have passed the halfway mark, 20 days, may we strictly observe the 20 more days that are ahead of us with strict fasting, penance, and staying away from any kinds of sins that will make us to fall back into our old ways of life. May Saint Valerian pray for us that we be faithful to our Lenten observance during the Lent and even after the Lent. May God bless you and have a beautiful day.